Brendan, in your view, were these protesters inspired by the Prime Minister or not?
Good morning, Tom. I think you summed it up very well before. I don't think this is actually anything to do with the Prime Minister whatsoever. Now, I caught the train in today from Retford, where I live, and I had a couple of these protesters there, and they were talking about me being sent to Nuremberg for trial, and it was all about COVID and various other conspiracy theories. So these people are always around Parliament anyway. Whether it's protesting about 5G towers or Bill Gates is taking over the world or whatever it is. So I don't think there's anything at all to do with what the Prime Minister said last week. Of course, the Leader of the Opposition has gone by, David Lammy's gone by, and there's been some appalling abuse, which I completely condemn. But what you'll notice, as you know yourself, Tom, is this kind of abuse, it happens all the time to politicians and journalists around Westminster. It's happened to Nick Watt, it's happened to yourself, it's happened to me. You have people like Steve Bray standing there with a megaphone shouting abuse at MPs all the time as well. So this is the culture around Parliament, sadly, and thankfully we're changing the law and going to put a stop to a lot of this.
Well, we are talking at a time where it's less than 4 months since one of your colleagues was brutally killed while conducting a constituency surgery. Are we talking enough about how we respond to intimidating mobs like this? Should these people, and we recognise some of those faces in that video that were haranguing Keir Starmer. Certainly one of them was one of the same people that was haranguing the BBC journalist Nick Watt in June. These people who repeatedly intimidate and harass politicians and journalists, should we potentially be saying that they shouldn't be allowed to hover around Parliament?
I think it's important that people have got the right to protest and get their views across, and that's something I'll always defend, Tom, and I think Parliament is a better place for letting that happen. But when you're getting people constantly camped out there, constantly with the same abuse, we saw the Winston Churchill statue vandalised, at what point do we actually say that this is unacceptable, really? I think most reasonable people will understand where to draw the line. I think a lot of viewers at home maybe haven't visited Parliament and maybe not seen for themselves that this is a fairly regular thing. So I think when it's actually abuse and there's physical intimidation there, then a line is crossed, and I think the police should step in at that point. But we need to give them the powers to be able to do that, of course.
And I suppose you're there referring to the police bill, which is one of the things that this particular group of protesters were protesting against as well in their original invitation to stand outside Number 10 and to go to Parliament Square. What is it particularly within the police bill that would be able to assuage some of the more raucous protests like this one?
Well, I think if you look at Insulate Britain and so on, and people gluing themselves to public transport, I think particularly where people are blocking bridges so people can't get to hospital and so on, and it enables police really to get people shifted a lot easier than it would do before. I mean, we're not giving the authorities some sort of charter to just hit someone over the head and throw them in a van. It's not like that. But what it does do is allows the police to use their common sense and their discretion a bit more without the constant threat of being sued all the time. And of course, these protesters are very good at talking about their rights, but they, of course, forget about the rights of the people which they impinge upon.